After weeks of legal fighting, we are here with an update about our fight to get on the Democratic Party primary ballot. We won. The Board of Elections said, we won. The judge said, we won. And the process, the democratic process, won. They reached that conclusion even after our opponents filed multiple objections to petitions carried by Democrats who have been members of the White Plains community for many years, and objections to many signatures of White Plains Democrats.
This week, a New York State Supreme Court judge ruled in our favor, agreeing with the Board of Elections and ordering that we should remain on the ballot for the Democratic primary on September 12th. We'll address some details about the judge's decision in a moment, but first, we want to provide you with some insight about the specifics of the battle we have been fighting for the last few weeks.
I'm Joan Traber. I've grown up in White Plains. I've taught in the White Plains public schools for over 30 years. This is the first time I have ever carried a petition in an election in the city of White Plains, and here is the petition I carried.
The other team objected on the basis that there was an uninitialed alteration to my witness statement, apparently having a problem with the way I wrote the number 10. Having taught hundreds of children how to write the number 10, I'm a little annoyed with this.
Hi, I'm Nizam Singletary. I moved to White Plains 11 years ago, and I've been looking for ways to get more involved in my community. Here's one of the petitions that I carried. The other team objected on the basis that there was an uninitialed alteration in my witness statement, apparently having a problem with the way I wrote the date.
Hi, my name is Steve Epstein. My two children have attended and graduated the White Plains schools. During that time, my wife has been teaching in the White Plains schools, including such schools as Ridgeway, Post Road, Church Street, and Battle Hill. Here's one of the petitions I carried. I got all of these signatures on July 6th. The other team objected on the basis that the date on my witness statement is prior to the date of one of the signatures. Apparently, they are interpreting line 8 to have been dated on July 10th, which they argued invalidated the entire petition.
Hi, I'm Marcia Moscoso, and I've been living in White Plains for 32 years, and this is one of the petitions that I carry. They objected on the basis that the signers did not write White Plains in the last column. For 5 of the 8 people who signed, there is no argument that they are not registered Democrats in White Plains.
When all was said and done, the Board of Elections determined that each of us had gathered enough valid signatures to qualify for the ballot. But that is not the end of the story, because the other team continued to press their case in court, asking a judge to overturn the finding of the Board of Elections. They made multiple arguments against us, arguing about purported defects with our cover sheets, alleged problems with our committee to fill vacancies, and even going so far as to accuse us of fraud.
Hundreds of White Plains Democrats had written WP to indicate the city they live in, rather than spelling out the full words White Plains. The mayor and his team objected to all of these signatures, arguing that the people signing had inadequately indicated the city they live in. Remarkable, the Board of Elections agreed with them. In other words, when the Board of Elections found that we all submitted more than the minimum number of signatures, it was not including all of these signatures from people who wrote WP.
Our petitions were not perfect. As petitioning season wound down, the advice we were given was that we had to have many more than the 2-time minimum number of signatures to feel safe. So we did what many other campaigns do. We hired paid canvassers to supplement the work that had been done by our hard-working residential volunteers. The canvassers we hired gathered some signatures from people who do not live or are registered Democrats in White Plains. That does not undermine the hard work done by volunteer Democrats who gathered signatures, nor should it undermine the signatures of valid registered voters in White Plains. Our volunteers worked hard on our behalf. because they want Democrats to have a choice, and they want to see our local policies change.
And so, after weeks of fighting in court, the judge rejected our opponent's arguments and held that we should remain on the ballot. With this fight now behind us, we look forward to talking with you, the voters in White Plains, about how this city should be run. Ask yourselves, White Plains residents, why do these incumbents who have served for more than 25 years collectively want to remain in power this way? Instead of trying to avoid an election, shouldn't they be eager to defend their records in an open and free election?
Ask yourselves, White Plains residents, do you want politics to be a rigged game controlled by the local political machine? Do you support people who seek out creative ways to make it difficult for new voices to participate in our politics?
Our opponents should be better than this. We Democrats should be acting to expand the number of people who participate in our elections, not seeking out reasons to silence voters that want to be heard. I believe that politics should be a debate between competing ideas, where new voices are given a fair chance to compete, not a complicated battle between election lawyers that gets decided by judges. Now that the Board of Elections and a New York State Supreme Court judge have ruled, let's focus on the issues and have a spirited debate about how White Plains should move into the future.